The German government rejects that its ambassador was summoned to Moscow following a leaked tape.
NATO starts enlarged drills with Finland taking part as Albania reopens old airbase.
Brussels has fined Apple €1.8 billion for breaking EU competition law in its distribution of music streaming apps.
Germany's foreign ministry denied reports that Berlin's ambassador was summoned to Moscow over an alleged military leak. They claim the meeting was planned long in advance and that the recording is part of an information war that Putin is waging. In the audio, German officials are allegedly discussing military support for Ukraine. German authorities do not question the authenticity of the 38-minute recording, but say that the Kremlin's claims are, quote, absurd. Last week, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Germany cannot get directly involved in the war. The recording was released on the same day as the funeral ceremonies for Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny in Moscow.
20,000 soldiers from 13 countries open NATO's Nordic response drill across Norway, Sweden and Finland. Over 4,000 Finnish soldiers will take part, marking the NATO newcomers' first exercise as a NATO member. The drills have been renamed the Nordic Response as NATO welcomes Finland and eventually Sweden to the alliance. They will last nearly 2 weeks and involve soldiers from 13 nations.
Finnmark jo det området vi planlegger for en aggresjon eventuelt aggresjon fra Russland. Og det viktig at vi øver i relevant område.
Man lærer seg jo tidlig at vi skal være disiplinerte, og vi skal alltid passe på hverandre og passe på oss selv. Så må vi alltid vite hva vi skal gjøre, og det har vi jo blitt trent på. Og det gir oss jo mange gode erfaringer for både nå og videre.
Meanwhile, Albania has reopened a decades-old Soviet airbase in the context of increasing Russian aggression, according to the Albanian Prime Minister. NATO has invested approximately €50 million in the airbase, which will act as a hub for future NATO operations.
Deepfake porn videos are surging in Greece. Some use free online AI tools to turn social media material into fake amateur porn videos. The victims in hundreds of cases are underage students.
Η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη έχει λύσει τα χέρια των απατεώνων με αποτέλεσμα όλοι αυτοί να ξέρουν να χειρίζονται τα συστήματα πάρα πολύ απλά, γιατί είναι με φωνητικές εντολές και παίρνουν φωτογραφίες, παίρνουν το πρόσωπό σου και στη συνέχεια το πρόσωπο αυτό το βάζουν σε ένα ερωτικό βίντεο, αυτό το μοιράζουν, το διαμοιράζουν σε πλατφόρμες με σκοπό είτε εκδίκησης είτε λύτρων είτε χαβαλέ και πλάκα. Στα σχολεία έχουμε εκατοντάδες θύματα παιδάκια τα οποία τους παίρνουν το πρόσωπο, τους το προσαρμόζουν πάνω σε ένα βίντεο ερωτικό και στη συνέχεια αυτό το πρόσωπο με το ερωτικό βίντεο διακινείται σε σχολεία και σε τάξεις.
Στην Ελλάδα το πρώτο περιστατικό χρήσης τεχνητής νοημοσύνης για τη δημιουργία πλαστού ερωτικού βίντεο καταγράφηκε πριν από περίπου 3 χρόνια. Θύμα ήταν μία ανήλικη μαθήτρια και δράστης ένας συμμαθητής της. Αυτό που αποκάλυψε στη συνέχεια η έρευνα προκάλεσε σοκ στις αρχές.
Είχε πάρει φωτογραφίες από τα μέσα κοινωνικής δικτύωσης ένας συμμαθητής της, τα είχε τροποποιήσει με τέτοιο τρόπο ώστε να φαίνεται ότι το παιδί συμμετείχε σε ένα βίντεο ερωτικού περιεχομένου και εν τέλει όταν άνοιξε η έρευνα, αλλά εφόσον είχε γίνει η διανομή του υλικού, μάθαμε ότι ήταν ο δεύτερος καλύτερος μαθητής που ήθελε να της πάρει τη σημαία. Οπότε το έκανε όλο αυτό για να τη δυσφημίσει.
In Greece, privacy breach cases have tripled over the past decade. The government is preparing a new law to help offline deepfake material as fast as possible.
Italian workers' safety has been at the centre of the government's debate after the recent death of 5 workers at a construction site in Florence. In 2021, Italy registered the second highest number of workplace victims in the EU after France. And with the count on the rise this year compared to the same period in 2023, Rome is unveiling a new plan to improve working conditions. The initiative, which falls under the EU-backed National Recovery and Resilience Plan, includes the introduction of an additional number of inspectors and a new points-based license, forcing contractors to comply with safety standards to get permission to work. But both the country's Builders Association and Italy's main unions have criticised the move.
Noi ci siamo dichiarati non favorevoli alla patente a punti, ma non perché non vogliamo una stretta sui controlli e sulla qualificazione, perché in realtà la patente a punti, per chi vuole anche fare il furbo, mi permetto di dire, significa che un'impresa del mercato privato apre il 1 gennaio, chiude il 31 dicembre, poi riapre con una nuova impresa il 1 gennaio, quindi magari ha anche consumato i punti, ma gli ritornano. Ovviamente non abbiamo ancora letto che cosa prevede questa patente a punti, però non ci sembra questo il meccanismo giusto.
Trade unions see subcontracting as the main cause behind these accidents.
Una norma chiara sulla qualificazione delle imprese, che tenga conto della storia delle imprese, che tenga conto del comportamento nei cantieri di quelle imprese. L'impresa che gestiva il cantiere di Firenze aveva avuto già delle irregolarità accertate, sempre in materia di salute e sicurezza, su altri cantieri italiani.
Changing the system, trade unions say, would also help attract international investments. It will take several weeks to convert the decree into law, and both trade unions and business organizations hope that the plan can still be improved. Giorgia Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
Elon Musk's new Tesla factory near Berlin is facing protests. The factory, which opened in Grünheide, just outside the German capital in 2022, is looking to expand into an adjacent forest, which would involve cutting down 247 acres of forest. Environmentalists have called on politicians to stop the plans and have occupied tents and tree houses. On Sunday, 80 to 100 activists protested. Protests have reportedly received widespread backing from locals and are due to continue until the 15th of March.
At least 4 people have been killed and more than 20 injured in a fire at an elderly people's home in Germany. One person is in a life-threatening condition after the blaze, which broke out around 5 in the morning in the town of Bedburg-Hau in western Germany. A police officer and firefighter are also understood to be seriously hurt. 46 residents of the home were evacuated and moved to another accommodation. The cause of the fire isn't known yet, but an investigation is underway.
Brussels has ordered Apple to pay a fine of 1.8 billion euros for breaking EU competition law in its distribution of music streaming apps. The European Commission found Apple had blocked users of its App Store from switching to cheaper music subscription alternatives. It follows a 4-year probe launched after Swedish company Spotify filed a complaint in 2019.
This is illegal, and it has impacted millions of European consumers. They were not able to make a free choice as to where, how, and at what prices to buy music streaming subscriptions.
It is the first time that the Commission has fined Apple, and the third biggest antitrust levy it has ever issued. The move is part of Brussels' plan to rein in the power of big tech companies that abuse their market dominance under the Digital Markets Act. The Commission says holding big tech to account will help small European businesses thrive.
It is of fundamental importance to hold companies like Apple accountable for their violation of EU law. Today's decision shows that competition law continues to provide a very powerful basis to tackle illegal behavior by companies like Apple to the benefit of consumers. And it will work hand in hand with the DMA to ensure that digital markets work, that they indeed deliver for people.
Similar levies against Google are currently being appealed in courts. Apple has said it will also challenge the decision and claims Spotify's success story as the largest music streaming app in the world is partly due to the support it has received from Apple and its App Store.
Recent relatively high Russian aviation losses appear to be prompting a significant decrease in Russian aviation activity in eastern Ukraine, although it is unclear how long this decrease in activity will last, says the Institute for the Study of War in its latest update. Ukrainian officials report that Russian forces have lost 15 aircraft since the 17th of February, 13 last month only, which is not negligible for the Russian military, given that Russia likely has about 300 various Sukhoi fighter aircraft. Russian forces appeared to tolerate an increased rate of aviation losses in recent weeks in order to conduct glide bomb strikes in support of ongoing Russian offensive operations in eastern Ukraine, and the Russian command may decide in the future to assume the risk of continued aviation losses in pursuit of further tactical gains. The UK Defence Ministry adds Russia is ready to tolerate the increase in its casualties as well. The average daily number of Russian troops killed and wounded in Ukraine throughout February was at the highest rate since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, at 983 per day. It almost certainly reflects Russia's commitment to mass and attritional warfare. Although costly in terms of human life, the resulting effect has increased the pressure on Ukraine's positions across the front line.